Ever wondered why we behave the way we do? Could our ancestors have something to do with it? Welcome to the fascinating realm of evolutionary psychology, a field that seeks to unravel the mystery of our behaviors, emotions, and thought processes. Picture this as an intricate tapestry woven together by threads of biology, psychology, and the forces of evolution. In its essence, evolutionary psychology is a theoretical approach to psychology that attempts to explain useful mental and psychological traits. These traits, such as memory, perception, or language, are adaptations, that is, products of natural selection that helped our ancestors survive and reproduce. You see, our minds are like living museums, housing psychological artifacts that have been passed down through generations. These artifacts are not physical, but behavioral and cognitive tendencies that have been etched into our DNA over millions of years. They're like invisible handprints, shaping the way we interact with the world around us. Here's where evolutionary biology comes into play. It provides the lens through which we can examine these mental artifacts. By understanding the survival needs of our ancestors, we can begin to map out why we have certain psychological tendencies and behaviors. Why do we fear certain things? Why do we find some things more attractive than others? Why do we form social bonds? These questions and more are what evolutionary psychology seeks to answer. But evolutionary psychology is not just about tracing our past. It also opens up new ways of understanding present human behavior. It provides a framework that allows us to see the connection between our evolutionary past and our present actions, thoughts, and feelings. It's like a bridge, linking the then and now, and offering insights into why we are the way we are. So brace yourselves. It's time to embark on a journey that traces our mental footprints back to our ancestors. A journey that explores the intriguing interplay of evolution and psychology and how it shapes our everyday lives. To grasp the complexities of evolutionary psychology, we first need to understand the basics. Let's start with evolutionary biology. It's the study of evolution, the process through which species change over time. This change isn't random. It's driven by natural selection, a key principle we must grasp. Picture a diverse population of creatures, each with its unique traits. Some of these traits are beneficial, helping the creature survive and reproduce in its environment. Other traits might be less helpful or even harmful. Now, imagine a situation where food is scarce. Creatures with traits that help them find food or survive on less will be more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on these traits to their offspring. Over generations, these beneficial traits become more common in the population. That's natural selection in a nutshell, survival of the fittest, if you will. Now, how does this apply to psychology? Well, our minds are a product of our brains, and our brains are biological organs shaped by evolution. Just as physical traits can aid survival and reproduction, so can psychological traits. Fear of heights, for example, can prevent dangerous falls. Social tendencies can foster cooperation and community, aiding survival in a group. These psychological traits, like physical ones, can be passed on to future generations. Over time, traits that enhance survival and reproduction become more common, while those that do not fade away. This is the essence of evolutionary psychology, understanding how evolution has shaped our minds and behaviors. But it's not just about survival. Reproduction is equally important. Traits that increase an individual's chances of finding a mate and producing offspring also have a high chance of being passed on. This is where things like mate preference, social status, and even our sense of humor come into play. Evolutionary psychology seeks to understand why we think, feel, and behave the way we do, based on the evolutionary pressures that shaped our ancestors. It's a fascinating field that bridges biology and psychology, history and the present, the physical and the mental. With the basics in mind, we can now delve into how these principles shape our psychological traits. Now, how does evolutionary psychology explain our behaviors? A fascinating question indeed. Let's dive into some intriguing theories. Imagine our ancestors living thousands of years ago. Survival was the name of the game, and behaviors that increased their chances of survival were like gold dust. These behaviors, over time, were passed down through generations, becoming ingrained in the human species. Evolutionary psychologists believe these behaviors continue to shape our actions today. Take social behaviors, for instance. Our ancestors lived in tight-knit groups, relying on each other for survival. The ability to cooperate, communicate, and form bonds was crucial. Fast forward to today, and we still see the importance of social interaction. We form communities, we work in teams, we build relationships, all reflections of our ancestors' survival tactics. Then, there's the matter of mating preferences. Our ancestors chose mates who were likely to produce healthy, strong offspring, ensuring the continuation of their lineage. This is why traits like physical health and fertility were desirable. These preferences can still be seen today, albeit in more complex forms, influenced by societal and cultural norms. And what about fear responses? Our ancestors faced constant threats, from predators to harsh environmental conditions. Fear was a critical survival tool, triggering fight or flight responses to these dangers. Today, while we may not be running from saber-toothed tigers, our fear responses still kick in when we perceive threats, whether they're physical, like a car hurtling towards us, or more abstract, like public speaking. It's fascinating to think about how much of our behavior today might be influenced by the survival needs of our ancestors. Of course, it's not as simple as that. Our behaviors are influenced by a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and individual experiences. But understanding these evolutionary perspectives can provide a fascinating lens through which to view human behavior. These behaviors, passed down from our ancestors, continue to shape our actions today. So next time you feel a surge of adrenaline or find yourself drawn to a particular person, remember, it could be your ancient survival instincts kicking in. Psychological traits aren't just random quirks, they serve a purpose. Let's delve into the adaptive functions of these traits. Picture a world where survival is not guaranteed, where every decision could be your last. In such a world, psychological traits could be the difference between life and death. Evolutionary psychology posits that these traits have been shaped over millions of years to increase our chances of survival and reproductive success. Consider the instinct to protect family members. From a purely rational perspective, it might not make sense to risk your life for someone else. But from an evolutionary standpoint, it's a different story. This instinct ensures the survival of your genes, even if indirectly. By protecting your family, you are ensuring the survival and propagation of genes similar to your own. This trait, then, is not just about altruism or love, it's about genetic survival. Or let's take the ability to quickly learn and adapt to new environments. This trait has been indispensable in our evolutionary journey. Our ancestors were not the strongest or the fastest, but they were arguably the most adaptable. They could learn from their experiences, change their behaviors, and survive in a wide range of environments. This ability to learn and adapt, to change our behaviors based on past experiences, is a key reason why we, as a species, have been able to survive and thrive. And then there's the trait of curiosity. Why do we have an innate desire to explore, to seek out new experiences or knowledge? Again, from an evolutionary perspective, curiosity has a clear adaptive function. It drives us to explore our environment, to seek out resources, to learn about potential threats. Curiosity, then, is not just about intellectual satisfaction, it's about survival. These are just a few examples of how psychological traits can have adaptive functions that increase our survival and reproductive success. The traits that we have today, from our capacity for love and empathy to our ability to learn and adapt, have been shaped by millions of years of evolution. These traits, honed by evolution, play a vital role in our survival and success. Evolutionary psychology doesn't just explain our behaviors and traits, it can also provide insights into mental disorders. It's a fascinating concept to explore, diving into how certain mental disorders might have evolved as byproducts of adaptive traits or as trade-offs for beneficial traits. Let's take anxiety, for instance. In the wild, primal world of our ancestors, anxiety could have been a life-saving trait. It kept our forebears on high alert, ready to bolt at the first sign of danger, enhancing survival and reproduction. Fast forward to the 21st century, and this once adaptive trait has become maladaptive in many respects. The threats our ancestors faced are largely non-existent, but the anxiety lingers, often triggered by modern stressors that are far from life-threatening. Similarly, consider depression. Some theorists propose that depression might have evolved as a defense mechanism, forcing individuals to slow down, retreat, and conserve energy during periods of adversity. Today, this response can be triggered by stressors that don't require a physical energy conservation response, leading to debilitating depressive episodes. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, is another example. The behaviors associated with OCD, such as repeated checking or extreme cleanliness, might have been advantageous in an environment where vigilance against predators and disease was critical. In today's world, however, these behaviors can become extreme and interfere with daily life. It's crucial to note that these are theories, and they don't diminish the real and significant impact mental disorders have on individuals. They simply offer a different perspective, one that sees these disorders not as broken or malfunctioning parts of us, but as echoes of our evolutionary past that no longer fit neatly into our modern lives. Understanding these evolutionary perspectives can help us see mental disorders in a new light. They allow us to appreciate the complexity of the human mind and the intricate dance between our evolutionary past and our present circumstances. This perspective can enrich our understanding and ultimately the way we approach mental health. We've journeyed through the intriguing world of evolutionary psychology. So what have we learned? We've delved into the basics, understanding how our ancestors' survival strategies have shaped our current behaviors and psychological traits. We've explored how evolutionary perspectives shed light on human behavior, revealing how our actions may be driven by deep-rooted survival and reproductive instincts. We've also discovered the adaptive functions of psychological traits, considering how these traits, like fear and aggression, might have served our ancestors well, aiding in survival and reproduction. Lastly, we've looked at how these evolutionary explanations apply to mental disorders, suggesting that what we now classify as disorders might have once been advantageous traits in different environments or contexts. In essence, evolutionary psychology offers a unique lens through which we can view and understand our mental processes, behaviors, and idiosyncrasies. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of the human mind, we find our answers intertwined with our evolutionary past. And that's the captivating world of evolutionary psychology. Subscribe and don't forget to take care of yourselves. Goodbye.